Welcome back to The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker here in a Hidden Triforce channel. In this episode we're going to go through the first half of the game's second dungeon. It's a fun one, but kind of not. There's a whole lot of repetitiveness in this dungeon, and it's honestly one of my least favorites in this series, but I'm going to trudge on through anyways and hopefully be done with this really quickly so I never have to come back here ever again. Now, this dungeon is essentially the game's forest temple. Every Zelda game since Ocarina of Time pretty much kind of follows the theme. The first three dungeons are going to be water, fire, and forest. So, or leaf, grass, whatever you want to call it. But this is the forest temple essentially. And Dragon Roost Cavern was the fire temple, so they did sort of mix things up. It normally goes in the other order. We have grass, fire, then water. This game's going to go fire, grass, then water. So they mostly stick with the same pattern, though it's still a little bit different. I mean, Dragon Roost Cavern wasn't your stereotypical fire temple. There was definitely some lava, but it wasn't a whole lot of really fire-based puzzles or themes in there. But this game definitely does stick with the grass and vine, the overgrowth, and anything plant related. This level has it. You have bombs that are plants, bomb crops. You have these Deku Baba kind of sprouts that shoot you upward. You're using the Deku Leaf, and there's grass everywhere. There's these vines growing on the doors that are blocking the way. You have spikes, kind of like barbs, that are coming out of the ground. Everything here is plant-based. Anyways, I just forgot how to throw a bomb for a second, so I had to like throw that away really quickly. Let's do it now. So one of the themes of this dungeon is there's a ton of doors with these guys on it that are growing that's taking over the door and blocking you from getting through, and you have to find a way to destroy them, kill them, that way you can get through. And you'll be using a variety of methods. You've already seen us use bombs, use a giant seed that we find on the ground. We can throw, it's interesting that we can throw a seed at it, but Link just won't go up to it and just pull it off. I feel like that's probably the easiest option, but whatever. Also new to this dungeon are these Peahats. They've been around since the original Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I kind of like their form here in the game. I like their design a lot. They're really kind of creative, as I just massacred that guy. I also like the Deku Babas a lot better. The ones in the Wind Waker and Skyward Sword are probably my favorite in this series, because they're just really cool and expressive. They got that really neat pattern on them, and their tongue, they're just kind of like swinging around. They look kind of like cannibalistic and like just fierce. It's exactly what they're kind of trying to go for. So as one of the fantastic things about the Wind Waker is the enemies. While most of the enemies will never pose any real challenge to you, they are very expressive and emotional, and just the animations that Nintendo put into them and the designs give them a unique kind of charm to them that you don't see in any of the other Zelda games, and you really don't see in a whole lot of games in general. Because how many games when you attack an enemy do they like get all freaked out, run away? Here in the Wind Waker, if you use your grappling hook on an enemy, you can normally steal an item from them. And the look on like a Moblin's face or Bokoblins' face when you do so, they're like, hey, what just happened? They look really surprised and shocked. The same thing if you use a boomerang on them to stun them. They just get this look of confusion. You actually see kind of like the birds flying around their head, like, doit, you just stunned me. And it's just really kind of creative and adds a new level of depth to the Wind Waker, which I think is a brilliant move by Nintendo. And that would not be possible without this style of art that Nintendo went with, sometimes known as Zelda, C-E-L-D-A, because it's considered to be cel-shaded graphics, which give it this kind of cartoony look. And a lot of people really hated on this style of graphics when the game was first revealed, because if you remember back at Space World a long time ago, it was like 2000, 2001 or so, Nintendo revealed this cool little realistic Zelda in which Link was fighting against Ganondorf, and everyone's like, oh, that's what the new Zelda game is going to look like. And then shortly later, we saw this, the toon shaded Zelda, and everyone was like, what happened? How did this come from the realistic Link that we were all expecting and hoping for? And because of that, so many people got mad and was just hating on this game irrationally because it looks like a cartoon. But because of the things that I just mentioned and so much more, they really should give this game more of a chance, because trust me, we are better off with the way the game turned out because we got Zelda versus the original graphics that we saw so long ago. And even to this day, you hear people saying, I will not play this game because it looks like a kiddie cartoon, and that's absurd. But anyways, my rant is done. A little bit of history for you guys about Wind Waker and the Zelda series. Now, there's a couple of chests in this room. First of all, you get that compass, but that's not it. There's this other area that you need to bomb. Just kind of throw it through these vines, or whatever they are. Roots, I guess spiked roots that are coming out of the ground. Not really sure what they're supposed to be. But they have a set path, and you kind of got to work your way through. It's a maze. If you run too quickly, you're going to run into them just like that. And you just kind of have to take your time. But I am such an impatient person, really, that I just want to run through and just get this over with. I'm almost there. It reminds me of the area in Ocarina of Time's Fire Temple where the fire walls pop up and you had to step on that switch and then work your way through really quickly to get over a ledge before the fire barrier comes back. So, kind of reusing some old tricks here, which there's nothing wrong with that, because it's a fun one. Anyways, got our key. Now there's an area that we just went through that had a locked door, which we can now get to. And we're going to go ahead and just use these guys to get out. There's nothing really in these that we need, so I'm just going to go ahead and fly to the door and get out of here. Now there's also a chest right down there in that hole. It has, I believe, rupees. I'm not going to get it. I don't need any more rupees, but if you guys feel the need, it's right there. So I'm more of a speed run, just get through it. But I'll collect some other chests later on to make up for it. Some treasure charts and etc. Now what we're going to do is, we're nearing the end of this video-ish, got a couple more minutes left, and we're working our way to get the item of this dungeon, the Boomerang, which we'll get that by the end of this video, and the next video will be us completing the dungeon by using that newly found item. But for now, we're just going to focus on the first half. Generally speaking, I will do dungeons in 2 to 3 segments. The first segment will be getting the item. The second segment will be getting to the boss chamber, and the third video is actually fighting that boss. Now, with Dragon Roost Cavern, because the dungeon is so short, I just kind of did it all in one fell swoop. Oh, I hate these little spiked balls. It's one of the reasons I don't like this dungeon as well. Besides the fact that I just find it so boring in design. But there is actually one area that's coming up in the next video that I want to point out to you. So when I get there, I'll point it out and I'll kind of remind you, hey, I was talking about that in the last video. So what we're going to do is just work our way up and work really, really close to the mini boss of the game. Whoa, this guy's coming for me. Stay away. And you can always use your Deku Leaf to just stun those guys, but we need to get here to this Deku Baba Sprout. I wonder if that's what it's called. That's what I'm calling it. That's what I've always called it. So, alrighty. We look good to go. Now this guy's gonna pop out. Let's run from these guys. Enter this chamber, which is going to be the mini boss chamber as the door locks behind us. So after we defeat this really simple mini boss Mothula, we will well, I guess that'll be the end of the video, and you have to watch the next one to find out. Now this is an enhanced form of Mothula. He's a little more dangerous. You can stun him with your Deku Leaf and then jump at him, do some damage with your sword. The stun just kind of makes him slowly descend down, and you can unstun him like that, so be careful. Now he does get some cheap shots off, like that, because he's got all these little guys. Oh, come on. This guy's just tearing me to pieces. I'm trying to get rid of these guys off of me and stun him at the same time, so I can actually get some speed to me. Alright, so let's go ahead. knock him down. The goal is to knock him out of the air by destroying his wings, and now that he's down, he's just a regular common enemy. So we can defeat him really quickly, not too hard. I made it harder than it should have been probably, but I still came out of it ahead. So we're going to grab this item, a boomerang, and then we'll use it to get out of the dungeon. Get a new item, a golden feather. Collect those whenever possible, as always. And once we get this item, we can use it to solve this really quick puzzle, exit the room, and that's going to conclude this video. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. So stay tuned for the next episode of The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD here on the Hidden Triforce. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and found it useful. Thanks for watching.